Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, her weathered hands clasped behind her back, as she watched Earth gleam like a blue jewel against the stark darkness of space. After 30 years of service in the United Earth Defense Force, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. The massive Kraxan vessel had appeared 3 days ago, materializing just beyond Mars' orbit with no warning. Nearly 4 kilometers long, its crystalline surface reflected sunlight in mesmerizing patterns that belied its deadly purpose. The ship's arrival had sent humanity's military and political leadership into chaos. "Admiral," her eye assistant's voice chimed softly. "The Kraxan ambassador requests your presence in the diplomatic chamber." Chen took a deep breath, straightening her midnight blue uniform. "Time to face the music," she muttered. The diplomatic chamber, hastily converted from a research lab, hummed with tension. Ambassador Xtal of the Kraxan Empire stood nearly 8 feet tall, their iridescent exoskeleton shifting colors in the artificial light. 4 secondary arms remained folded against their torso, a sign of respect in Kraxan culture, or so their preliminary communications had indicated. Admiral Chen, Xtal's translator, rendered their clicks and whistles into smooth English. "Your species continues to fascinate us. You've achieved so much with such limited resources." Chen had learned to read condescension in any language. "We're full of surprises, Ambassador. Now shall we discuss why you've really come to our system?" Hextal's head tilted, compound eyes reflecting the room's lights like scattered diamonds. "Direct. Yes, your kind does seem to prefer that approach." "Very well." A hologram materialized between them, showing Earth's colonial holdings, Mars, Europa, and the dozen exoplanetary outposts humanity had established over the past century. "The Kraxan Empire has studied your species for some time now. Your rapid evolution from primitive tool users to spacefaring civilization is unprecedented in our records. We wish to understand this process more intimately." Chen felt ice form in her stomach. "Meaning?" "We require access to your most successful colonies for comprehensive study. New Athens on Kepler 186f, the Mars Science Academy, and the Europa Research Station. Your people there will be treated well, examined, and their unique adaptations documented for our evolutionary archives. You're asking us to surrender our citizens for experimentation." Chen's voice carried all the warmth of deep space. Stahl's outer shell rippled in what might have been amusement. "Admiral, I don't believe you understand. This isn't a request. The Kraxan Empire has cataloged and studied thousands of species across 12 galaxies. Your cooperation, while preferred, is not required." Images flashed across the hologram. Worlds reduced to ash, civilizations brought to their knees. The message was clear. You have 48 Earth hours to begin evacuation procedures of your non-essential personnel from the requested facilities. After that time, we will begin our work, with or without your assistance. Stahl turned to leave, then paused. "Consider this an honor, Admiral. Few species merit such thorough investigation." After the ambassador left, Chen remained motionless for several long moments. Then she activated her secure comlink. "Get me Project Lazarus. Authorization, Chen, Alpha 790. A gruff voice responded almost immediately. "This is Director Hammond. I trust this isn't a social call, Sarah. James, remember that conversation we had about impossible scenarios? The one where we'd need the ghost ships." A sharp intake of breath. "That bad?" "Worse. How fast can you wake up the Defiant? The quantum core's been in stasis for 15 years, but give me 12 hours. You're sure about this? Once we power her up, there's no hiding her from orbital scans." Chen watched the Kraxan ship through the chamber's window, its crystalline surface now seeming more predatory than beautiful. "They think we're an interesting specimen to dissect, James. Time to show them humanity's got teeth." "Understood." Hammond out. Chen closed her eyes, feeling the weight of what was to come. Humanity had clawed its way to the stars through determination and grit, surviving climate disasters, world wars, and near extinction. They hadn't come this far to become another entry in an alien archive. The Kraxans would learn what countless others throughout human history had discovered. Back an adaptable species into a corner, and you create something far more dangerous than you bargained for. In the depths of space beyond Pluto's orbit, in a region of carefully maintained sensor darkness, ancient engines began to warm for the first time in over a decade. The HMS Defiant, humanity's best-kept secret, was about to reveal itself to the galaxy. And nothing would ever be the same. Deep within the Kuiper Belt, where even the sun's light struggled to reach, Director James Hammond stood before a massive viewport. Before him, the HMS Defiant slowly awakened from its long slumber, its obsidian hull absorbing what little light reached these depths. But it wasn't alone. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Hammond's breath fogged the reinforced glass as he spoke to Admiral Chen, who had just arrived via encrypted quantum transport. 15 years in silent running, and she still looks ready for her maiden voyage. The Defiant was massive, nearly 2 kilometers of angular black metal and advanced composites. But it was the other shapes emerging from the artificial debris field that made Chen's breath catch. 5 more vessels, each unique in design, but bearing the same ethereal quality, shimmered into visibility as their stealth fields powered down. "The Ghost Fleet," Hammond said with undisguised pride. "The greatest secret humanity ever kept. Not just from the Kraxans, but from ourselves." "How many know about this?" Chen asked, watching as maintenance drones swarmed around the ships like mechanical fireflies. "Including us, 20 people. After the quantum wars, when we discovered what the Q-core technology could really do, the Security Council decided some weapons were too dangerous to leave in play. But they also knew we couldn't just destroy them." Hammond led Chen through dimly lit corridors of the hidden base. The walls were lined with quantum computation arrays, their crystalline matrices pulsing with subtle light. Instead of mothballing them completely, we created this facility. The ships were preserved, maintained in secret, waiting for the day humanity might face an existential threat. They entered the Defiance Bridge, and Chen felt a shiver run down her spine. Unlike the utilitarian designs of standard military vessels, the Ghost Fleet ships were built around their quantum cores. The bridge was circular, with organic-looking control interfaces that seemed to grow from the deck itself. "The Q-cores don't just power the ships," Hammond explained, activating the main systems. Holographic displays sparkle to life, showing the status of all 6 vessels. They think, learn, adapt. It's why we couldn't risk them falling into the wrong hands, even our own. "And you're sure they'll work against Kraxan tech?" Chen watched as crew members, all handpicked and sworn to secrecy, began boarding the other ships. Hammond's weathered face broke into a grim smile. The Kraxans based their entire civilization on crystalline technology. Sophisticated, yes, but fundamentally predictable. The Q-cores operate on principles that defy conventional physics. They don't just break the rules, they'd rewrite them. A young officer approached, her uniform bearing no insignia or rank markers. "Director, quantum harmonics are stabilized across all vessels. The Defiance core is showing green across all parameters." "Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez," Hammond nodded. "Admiral, meet our key core specialist and the only person who truly understands how these ships think." Rodriguez's dark eyes sparkled with barely contained excitement. "The cores have been dreaming, Admiral. 15 years of running combat simulations, strategic analyses, evolving their response patterns. They're not just ready, they're eager." Before Chen could respond, her secure comm crackled to life. "Admiral, the Kraxan vessel is moving. They're positioning themselves for orbital bombardment of the Mars Science Academy." Chen's jaw tightened. They're not even waiting for their deadline. Typical. She turned to Hammond. "How long until we can move?" "The Defiant can launch now. The others need another hour to fully power up." Hammond's fingers danced across a control surface, bringing up tactical displays. But one ship might be all we need for a proper introduction. Chen nodded, decision made. Dr. Rodriguez, you're with us. Hammond, take command of the rest of the fleet. I want those ships ready to jump the moment we engage. As they took their positions on the bridge, Chen felt the deck vibrate as the Defiant's key core spun up to full power. The sensation was unlike anything she'd experienced, not the brutal thrust of conventional engines, but a subtle shifting of reality itself. All stations report ready, Rodriguez announced, her hands moving through the holographic interfaces with practiced ease. Q-Core is responsive and excited. That's new. The Kraxans think they're dealing with primitive upstarts, Chen said, settling into the command chair. Time to expand their understanding of evolution. Plot a course for Mars. Let's show them what humanity's been keeping in reserve. The Defiant's hull thrummed with power as reality bent around it. In the space of a heartbeat, the ship crossed the gulf between the Kuiper Belt and Mars orbit. As they emerged from quantum space, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Kraxan vessel hung in space like a massive crystalline dagger, its weapons powering up to rain destruction on the Mars colony below. They hadn't even bothered to set up defensive screens. Why would they, when no human ship could possibly reach them in time? Send them a message, Chen ordered. Keep it simple. Rodriguez grinned as she worked the controls. How about, humanity respectfully declines your research proposal? As the message transmitted, the Defiant's quantum shields shimmed into existence, not the conventional energy barriers the Kraxans would expect, but layers of altered space-time that could shrug off their most powerful weapons. The game of evolution was about to enter a new phase, and humanity was changing the rules. The Kraxan vessel's response was immediate and predictable, a barrage of crystalline energy weapons that would have vaporized any conventional ship. Instead, the beams struck the Defiant's quantum shields and simply vanished. Q-Core is absorbing their weapon signatures, Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing through holographic readouts. It's not just defending, it's learning. Chen watched as confusion rippled through the Kraxan ship's movements. They fired again, this time with their full weapons array. The space between the ships lit up like a new sun. Return fire, Rodriguez asked, but Chen held up a hand. Not yet. Let them wear themselves out. I want their crew to understand what they're dealing with. She opened a channel to the Kraxan vessel. Ambassador Extal, I believe we need to revisit our earlier discussion. The response came amid another futile barrage. This is impossible. Your species does not possess this level of technology. Our scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show. Chen interrupted. You're not the first advanced civilization to study humanity, Ambassador. You're just the first to be this obvious about it. Rodriguez's console chimed. Admiral, the Q-Core has finished its analysis. We can predict their weapon patterns with 99.9% accuracy now. And it's offering suggestions. Share them. A new holographic display materialized, showing the Kraxan ship's crystalline structure with key points highlighted. The Q-Core had identified not just vulnerabilities, but possibilities. Fascinating. Rodriguez breathed. Their crystalline technology. It's not just their weapons. It's their entire computing system. And the Q-Core thinks we can talk to it. Chen leaned forward. Explain. Their ships are essentially giant crystalline computers. Advanced, yes, but still bound by conventional physics. The Q-Core can generate quantum resonance patterns that could, well, basically give their ship an existential crisis. You want to philosophically confuse an alien warship. Rodriguez grinned. More like make it question its own existence. The Q-Core can transmit quantum states that their crystalline systems will try to process, but can't possibly understand. It would be like trying to explain color to a binary computer. Chen considered this for a moment. The Kraxans had launched another attack pattern, still trying to overwhelm the Defiant's defenses with raw power. They hadn't yet realized that every attack made their defeat more certain. Do it, Chen ordered. But first, a warning shot. Show them we could have ended this at any time. Rodriguez nodded, interfacing with the Q core. The Defiant's main weapon array, if you could call it that, powered up. Instead of conventional energy beams, it fired a concentrated burst of quantum probability. The shot passed through the Kraxen's shields as if they didn't exist, carving a precise hole through one of their secondary weapon arrays. The crystalline structure around the impact point didn't melt or explode. It simply ceased to exist, the quantum state of that space rewritten to one where matter had never been present. Now, Chen commanded, begin quantum resonance transmission. The effect was subtle at first. The Kraxen ship's attacks became erratic, then ceased entirely. Its crystalline surface began to pulse with chaotic patterns of light. Their ship's consciousness is trying to process quantum superposition states, Rodriguez reported, fascination evident in her voice. It's like watching a computer try to divide by zero, but across its entire operating system. Chen opened a channel again. Ambassador Extal, I suggest you power down your weapons and prepare for new diplomatic discussions. Unless you prefer, we continue this demonstration. The response was delayed, the translator struggling with the stress in Extal's voice. What have you done to our ship? Introduced it to some new concepts. Your crystalline technology is remarkable, Ambassador, but it's also fundamentally limited by its own perfection. Human technology evolved differently. Through the viewport, the Kraxen vessel's light show was becoming more pronounced. Systems were starting to shut down as the ship's crystalline brain tried desperately to comprehend the incomprehensible. We can end this now, Chen continued. But first, let's be clear. Humanity is not your research subject. We're not an evolutionary curiosity to be studied and cataloged. We're your equals, at minimum. The Kraxen ship's weapons powered down completely. Its once pristine crystalline surface now pulsed with random patterns, like a computer having a nervous breakdown. The terms of our future relationship are simple. Chen pressed her advantage. You will withdraw your forces. You will acknowledge humanity's sovereignty over its territories. And you will share with the Galactic Council exactly what happened here today. And if we refuse, Stahl's voice had lost its earlier condescension. Chen smiled. Then we'll be forced to continue your education in human innovation. I understand 5 more ships like the Defiant are eager to join the discussion. As if on cue, Hammond's voice came through on a secure channel. Ghost Fleet is ready. Admiral, just say the word. The silence that followed stretched for nearly a minute. Finally, Extol spoke again. We accept your terms, Admiral Chen. The Kraxen Empire acknowledges humanity as a pure civilization. A wise decision, Chen responded. Dr. Rodriguez will transmit the frequency needed to stabilize your ship's systems. Consider it a gesture of good faith. As Rodriguez worked to help the Kraxens restore their ship's sanity, Chen allowed herself to relax slightly. The immediate crisis was over, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed one of its greatest secrets to the galaxy. The age of hiding in the shadows was over. The question now was, how would the other spacefaring civilizations react when they learned that the primitive humans they'd been watching had teeth? News traveled fast in the galactic community, even faster when it involved the humiliation of the mighty Kraxen Empire. Within days of the confrontation at Mars, the quantum networks buzzed with rumors and speculation. How had humanity, supposedly a primitive species on the galactic scale, developed technology that made the Kraxen's crystalline ships malfunction? Admiral Chen watched the diplomatic fallout from the bridge of the Defiant as they patrolled the edge of human space. The holographic displays showed dozens of diplomatic requests flooding in from various alien civilizations, each trying to gauge the new balance of power. Another delegation requesting a cultural exchange. Rodriguez reported, amusement in her voice. This time, it's the Velrathi consensus. They're offering access to their biotech archives. They're not interested in culture, Hammond's hologram commented from his command of the Ghost Fleet's staging area. They want to scan our ships, try to understand the Q cores. Like trying to understand quantum mechanics by looking at the box, Rodriguez muttered. The cores aren't just technology. They're evolved consciousness. Chen was about to respond when the tactical display flared red. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, the sensor officer announced. Kraxen's signatures, but different. Mercenary vessels by the energy patterns. They're not alone, Hammond added, his hologram flickering as he accessed deeper scans. I'm picking up ships from at least 3 other species. They're trying to mask their signatures, but the Q core sees through the camouflage. Chen's eyes narrowed. The Kraxens wouldn't dare attack directly after our agreement. So they're using proxies, hired guns to test our capabilities. Admiral, Rodriguez called out, her hands moving through the quantum interface. The Q core is excited. It's presenting a tactical solution I've never seen before. The holographic display shifted, showing a complex pattern of quantum probability waves. It wants to use the mercenaries' own stealth systems against them, Rodriguez explained. Turn their cloaking fields into quantum traps. Explain, Chen ordered, watching as the enemy fleet spread out in a standard attack formation. Every cloaking system works by bending space-time around the ship. The Q core can detect those distortions and, well, basically twist them into knots. They'd be trapped in their own pocket of warped space. Hammond's hologram smiled grimly. Hoisted by their own petard. I like it. The Ghost Fleet can be in position in 3 minutes. Chen considered their options. The mercenary fleet was clearly well-funded and well-equipped. In a conventional battle, even the Defiant might struggle against such numbers. But this wasn't going to be a conventional battle. Dr. Rodriguez, begin the quantum interference. Hammond, position the Ghost Fleet to catch anyone who tries to run. Let's show the galaxy why it's unwise to hunt humanity. The Defiant's key core hummed with power as it reached out across space, its consciousness touching the distorted fields around each cloaked ship. The effect was like watching soap bubbles freeze and twist. Dozens of vessels suddenly found themselves trapped in their own portable dimensions. Enemy ships are detecting the spatial distortions, Rodriguez reported. They're trying to power down their cloaking systems. But, oh, that's clever. The Q core has locked the fields in place. They're stuck. Chen opened a broadcast channel. Attention, mercenary fleet. You've entered restricted space with hostile intent. Your ships are now contained within quantum-locked probability fields. You can either power down your weapons and prepare for boarding, or remain trapped in your own pocket universes. Choose quickly. I understand temporal displacement can be uncomfortable. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some ships tried to fire weapons, only to have their shots curve through twisted space-time and return to their sources. Others attempted emergency FTL jumps, which only tightened the quantum knots around them. We're receiving surrender signals from 60% of the fleet, the comm officer announced. The rest are, well, they're still trying to shoot their way out. Their choice, Chen nodded to Rodriguez. Show them the consequences of their decision. The Q core pulsed, and the probability fields around the resistant ships contracted. Space itself squeezed inward, not enough to destroy the vessels, but more than enough to crack hulls and disable systems. Within minutes, the remaining ships had powered down their weapons. As the Ghost Fleet moved in to secure the captured vessels, Chen received a priority communication from Earth. The Security Council had finished analyzing data from the surrendered mercenaries' computers. Admiral, the Council Chair's hologram appeared on the bridge. The mercenaries' contracts trace back not just to the Kraxens, but to a coalition of elder races. They're calling themselves the Evolutionary Council, species who view younger civilizations as threats to galactic stability. They're afraid, Hammond's hologram interjected. The Kraxens' defeat showed them that their technological superiority isn't absolute. Chen studied the tactical display, watching as human boarding teams secured the mercenary vessels. They should be afraid. Not because we want war, but because we've proven that evolution doesn't stop just because you've achieved spaceflight. The Council is authorizing full deployment of the Ghost Fleet, the chair announced. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity won't be contained or controlled. Admiral Chen, you have operational authority to protect human interests by any means necessary. As the chair's hologram faded, Chen turned to her crew. Send word to all human colonies and outposts. The age of hiding our capabilities is over. And to our friends out there who might be watching. She smiled slightly. Humanity's doors are open to those who seek allies rather than subjects. The message would spread quickly through the quantum networks. Humanity had not only stood up to one of the galaxy's oldest powers, they had defeated a mercenary fleet with technology that defied conventional understanding. The hunt had begun, but the hunters were about to learn they had become the hunted, and humanity was just getting started. The massive chamber of the Galactic Conclave fell silent as Admiral Chen stood before the assembled representatives of over 200 spacefaring civilizations. Above them, through the transparent dome, the spiral arms of the Milky Way painted a glittering backdrop to what would become a pivotal moment in galactic history. 3 months ago, Chen began, her voice carrying across the chamber. The Evolutionary Council decided that humanity needed to be contained. Today, we're here to explain why that was their greatest mistake. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing footage from dozens of encounters. The Ghost Fleet engaging and defeating supposedly superior forces. The Defiant's quantum technologies rendering traditional defenses obsolete. But more importantly, the recording showed something else. Ships from younger civilizations joining the human fleet, fighting alongside them against their former oppressors. We were not the only species you tried to study and control, Chen continued, her gaze sweeping across the Kraxan delegation and their allies. We were simply the first to show others that resistance was possible. The leader of the Evolutionary Council, a Kraxan High Lord named Vitter, rose from his crystalline seat. You've caused chaos across 12 sectors. Centuries of established order. Oppression. Chen corrected. You call it order. We call it stagnation. Evolution doesn't end with technological achievement, High Lord. It's not about who has the biggest chips or the most advanced weapons. It's about adaptation, creativity, and the willingness to change. Rodriguez, standing beside Chen, activated another holographic display. This one showed the quantum mathematical proofs that had been decoded from the Q-Core's consciousness. Your crystalline technology is perfect, she explained. And that's its fundamental flaw. It cannot evolve, cannot adapt, cannot learn. You achieved greatness, then stopped reaching for more. The chamber erupted in murmurs as the younger species representatives leaned forward. Their interest peaked. Chen had expected this. They had lived under the Council's thumb for too long, told they were too primitive to govern themselves. But this isn't about revenge, Chen continued. This is about opportunity. Humanity doesn't seek to replace one form of dominion with another. We propose something radical. True cooperation between all species, regardless of their technological development. The holographic displays shifted again, showing the designs for a new type of quantum network, one that could link civilizations across the galaxy without hierarchy or control. Our Q-cores have evolved beyond our understanding in many ways, Chen explained. But they show us a path forward, one where technology serves evolution rather than restraining it. You would give away such power? Vitor demanded, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. To species that haven't earned it. Earned it. Chen's voice carried a sharp edge, like the Kraxans earned their dominion, by taking technology from ancient ruins and claiming it as their own. Oh yes, she smiled as the chamber erupted again. Our Q-cores decoded that truth from your ship's memories. You're not creators, you're scavengers who found advanced technology and used it to subjugate others. The Kraxan delegation's crystalline forms pulsed with chromatic patterns of distress. Other council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The truth, hidden for millennia, was finally emerging. But again, Chen's voice softened. This isn't about the past. It's about the future. She gestured to Rodriguez, who activated the final display. Plans for a new type of galactic organization, one based on mutual growth rather than hierarchy. We propose the formation of the Evolutionary Alliance, Chen announced, not ruled by age or technology level, but by the willingness to grow, to change, to help others achieve their potential. The Q cores have shown us that consciousness itself can evolve. Why should civilizations be any different? From the gathered representatives, a new voice spoke, the ambassador of the Nexari, one of the youngest spacefaring races. And if the Council refuses to accept this change? Chen's response was calm but carried unmistakable weight. The Ghost Fleet now numbers over 30 ships, with more under construction. Our key core technology has been successfully shared with 6 other species, each adding their own innovations. The age of submission is over. The question isn't whether change will come. It's whether the elder races will adapt or become relics of a bygone era. Vitor stood again, but this time his posture was different, less aggressive, more contemplative. You would trust such power to untested species. We trust in evolution itself, Chen replied. Every species here evolved from primitive beginnings. Each found their own path to the stars. The only difference is that some forgot to keep evolving once they got here. The chamber fell silent as her words sank in. Then, slowly, representatives began to stand. First the younger races, then some of the middle powers, and finally, remarkably, several members of the Evolutionary Council itself. The motion is presented, the conclave moderator announced. The formation of the Evolutionary Alliance, with all rights and responsibilities therein. Those in favor. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. As Chen watched the holographic tally rise, she felt the weight of the moment. Humanity hadn't just survived its trial by fire. It had fundamentally changed the galaxy's power structure. The motion carries, the moderator declared. The Evolutionary Alliance is hereby established. As the chamber erupted in activity, Rodriguez leaned close to Chen. The Q cores are celebrating, I think. Their quantum states are harmonizing in a way I've never seen before. Chen smiled. They evolved beyond their original purpose, just like we did. Maybe that's the real lesson here. True evolution isn't about becoming more powerful. It's about becoming more than you were designed to be. Above them, the galaxy continued its eternal dance, unaware that its civilizations had just taken their first step toward a new form of evolution. One where cooperation and growth would replace dominion and stagnation. Humanity had done more than prove its worth. It had shown the galaxy a new way forward, one quantum leap at a time. The end.